Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Hello and welcome to the Women's Roundtable and Wellness podcast powered by the Think Factory, where we learn how people think big and grow their business. My name is Susan Kleiner. I'm a partner with Outside General Counsel Solutions, and I'm the host of today's episode. I'm happy to have here with me today Lovepreet Buttar. Lovepreet is a managing director with Mercadien's nonprofit and human services group. She has extensive experience performing and overseeing audit engagements for various nonprofit organizations, including associations, schools, private foundations, and health and human services organizations. She is passionate about helping these organizations support their constituents and achieve their mission. She's also the head of Mercadien's audit and assurance practice and is responsible for both firm-wide and engagement-specific quality control matters and training for various profit, not-for-profit, and government public entities. In this role, she helps ensure that the firm is using best practices that are compliant with generally accepted accounting principles. Lovepreet is a frequent speaker at conferences and events hosted by various organizations, such as the New Jersey Association of Community Providers, the Council of Nonprofits, the Center for Nonprofits of New Jersey, Princeton Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce, and Princeton Community Works, to name a few. Driven by giving back, Lovepreet also commits much of her free time to serving on boards and committees for various organizations, including the Princeton Area Community Foundation and the South Jersey Chamber of Commerce. And also, I thought it was interesting to note that she is co-chair of Mercadien's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative, where she's responsible for helping plan and execute the firm's DEI strategy. So that's quite an introduction, and I think I could have said even more. So it's a real pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Susan. I'm happy to be here and chat with you.
Yeah. So could you just tell us a little bit about Mercadien?
Sure, absolutely. So Mercadien is a full-service financial firm. We've been around for over 60 years. We actually recently celebrated our 60th anniversary, so I'm very proud of that. So we are a CPA firm. We provide accounting and advisory services for a lot of different sectors. Of course, nonprofits. That's where my passion lies. But we also work with financial institutions, government entities. Tax work for individuals and families, as well as private companies. And the services we provide, right, where we do audits, we do pension plan audits, tax compliance, a lot of advisory work with these different sectors, as well as outsourced accounting and strategic planning services. So that's a high-level overview of a little bit about what Mercadien does.
Well, so they're full service, but your focus is primarily in the nonprofit world. And I'm just really curious how and why did you decide for that to be your focus?
Yeah. So I've been at Mercadien since I was in college. So I started as an intern. And when I was interning with them, I got exposure to the tax side of the house, the audit side, private companies, government work, and nonprofits. So I will say in the beginning, it was just luck. It was like it was meant to be. And I ended up on our audit team, which at the time did private company audits, government audits, and nonprofit audits. So pretty early on, got a lot of exposure to the not-for-profit accounting, which, when I was at college and, getting my accounting degree, not something that was talked about. I didn't know I could have a career just working on non-for-profit accounting. So that was a little bit of a fun surprise, and really learned on the job. Realized it was unique. It was a little complex. And I liked it. And I, liked working with my nonprofit clients. I liked that they were mission focused, right? It was about services they were providing, not the products they were selling. So that was really attractive. And then over time, it was really just getting deeper and deeper education and knowledge into the not-for-profit world from an accounting and auditing perspective. Started becoming a little bit of an expert and just doubled down. And here we are. And I co-lead the not-for-profit and human services niche now. And now I get to bring our next set of accountants up and teach them the not-for-profit accounting. So it's been, started with luck, but really just love it and love the work I do now.
Well, I love hearing about people when they move. It's like I have a friend that started off in the mailroom and is now, one of the directors of his company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yours isn't exactly like that because you started off as a college intern, but still, like that's a nice trajectory. And I mean, a great story, I think, for Mercadien to probably use in its recruiting and, just really show, the importance and the loyalty, that it has from its employees. So good for you. So for people who don't know, because, actually, I think when a lot of people hear audit, they think IRS. And the function of an audit with nonprofits is a little different. Can you just, for the uninitiated, could you just give a little brief introduction to explain, what the audit process is in the nonprofit world and why it's important?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So not-for-profits, one thing I always say is we're the friendly auditors, right? We say to my clients, always, you hire us, you want us to come in. So we're not forcing ourselves on you. So that's always nice. So a lot of what the not-for-profits, a lot of our clients, the reason they get an audit, it can be a number of different things. It can be a requirement from the bank because they have loan, they have any sort of debt. That's pretty similar to the private company world. A lot of the other reasons are because they're government funded, right? So they are either government funded or they're getting contributions from the general public that are over a set dollar amount, or the board really wants the financial statements to undergo an audit. So those are some of the reasons. So what we're doing is, so the not-for-profits will decide, because of ABC, they're required to undergo a financial statement audit. We will come in, we are engaged, and then we're really looking to make sure, are their financial statements reasonably stated, right? Are their financial statements in accordance with the rules that they have to follow? What gets really fun is, especially for the government-funded entities, they have to undergo a second layer of an audit, which we call single audit. And that's even more fun and just a lot more compliance based. And really where I think we provide value is before we start an audit, we're trying to do a lot of education in the community and saying, these are all the different requirements that you have to follow. And that's what we audit when we go in. So they're definitely regulated, right? There's a lot to go through. I would say definitely more regulated than sometimes the private company world. And that's what makes it complex, and that's what makes it a little bit unique.
I think it's funny that you say, like, it's really fun to do it this way. And I'm not sure that all your clients would agree, although
Probably
for sure,
not.
I think that you have to think about, like, we're the friendly audit, versus the other audit. And I know with some nonprofits that I've been involved in, I think that, the auditors really provide value in terms of, management and institutional controls. I mean, because you go on site, like you get in there and you really assist the organization to be more effective with its mission. So that's got to be incredibly satisfying for you.
Yeah, it's, we always try to look at it as yes, we have to remain independent. Yes, we have to come in and do your audit, but at the same time, it's a business relationship, right? We get to see a lot. We get to see their controls. And it's really an opportunity for us to identify, here are some areas where you could improve. So we're coming at it from what value can we add in addition to providing you with, a financial statement audit. So absolutely. And that is nice. I worked with some startup not-for-profits where I think that really shows, because when they're starting, that's really the opportunity too to just lay the foundation in a really strong way. And then as they grow, it's really rewarding to see them grow and, they have their financial house in order, and then they can continue to focus on their mission.
Yeah, and so I think for people who aren't involved with nonprofits may not even realize just how complicated and complex it is from some of their funders, particularly like federal grants, and the audit and the information that's required. I mean, they must have someone like you to really partner with them. So you are necessary and important in the mission. I know that with the nonprofit I'm on, it's a smaller nonprofit. It doesn't get an audit. It gets a compilation. And I feel like whenever the accountant comes in to talk about it, and this is for in Vermont, he's always very careful to say, this is not an audit, this is a compilation. And I just thought it might be interesting because, before I was involved, I had no idea what the difference was. Like, why would somebody get a compilation? Is there something short of an audit that you work on as well?
Yes, so there are levels of assurance that we can provide as auditors and accountants. So a compilation is basically us coming in, we're asking for the client's trial balance, and we are compiling their information. So it is in a financial statement format. It can be 4 pages, right? It can be without any of the footnotes. It's simple. We don't do any audit work. We really don't do much work in a compilation except for compile the information that's provided to us. The second tier is a review. So a review is where we perform analytical procedures and we make inquiries of management. We may read board minutes, but it's really analytical based. So it's where we're saying, okay, this is what we expect the balance to be. Here's what it is. Is it reasonable? So again, no audit work is done, so it's analytical. And then, of course, there comes an audit where we dig into controls, where we ask for receipts and disbursements and talk to everyone we can find and, a lot more detailed. And that allows us to say, okay, now we can give you limited assurance that your financial statements are reasonably stated. So that's some of the differences.
So even with the other ones, though, the review and the compilation, it does, it is another check, and it provides some balance and some assurance to, the board or, whomever regarding, the health of the organization. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for explaining all of that. I know that you, in addition to having this be your professional focus, personally, as if it's not enough to dig in and do these audits and get involved, you're involved with a number of nonprofits yourself. And I just wanted to know, I think it's important to talk about that. I think that nonprofit work and getting involved in nonprofits in particular can be really helpful for people in developing skills and meeting people and, moving up in their career. So if I could just get, your take on that for a moment, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so the very first board position that I did was the West Windsor Arts Council, and that was many, many years ago. And I remember, I was younger in my career, and even then, right, I learned so much from the board. I think it's a different perspective. I think especially in our profession, like I really encourage our younger associates to say, find an organization that you're passionate about, get on their committees, even if it's not finance related, and you get to see the not-for-profit from the other side, right? And I think that really helps us appreciate how the not-for-profit runs, how it's governed. So now, it's been an amazing path, I think, from the not-for-profit board positions to the Princeton Area Community Foundation is one that I'm really proud of. It's a great, great group of people. And I think what it's done is, yes, it strengthens my network, right? My personal passion for giving back to the not-for-profit community. And I think what the board positions allow me to do is engage with the community, combine my community engagement and service with what I have an expertise in. And I think I couldn't ask for something more. I think in a way it's easy for me to use my skills to give back, but I think in others, it's again a different perspective, right? I'm hearing the questions from other board members. I'm learning the CFO's perspective, the CEO's perspective, and just growing my network. And that and the South Jersey Chamber of Commerce comes to mind, where it's finding a community that of like-minded individuals and really getting to know people that I otherwise probably wouldn't get to know in my day-to-day job. So it's just been a rewarding, really. I think it's done a lot for my career. In the beginning, it was about just opening up to more people. It was, expanding my network, but now it's that plus I get to give back.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I think you also touched on something just now, which I think is also really important, which is you try and encourage, associates at Mercadien, and tell them, hey, this is important, get involved, which kind of speaks to the importance of mentorship, which is something that I know has been near and dear to your heart, especially, as some of the challenges that you faced as first generation and a woman of color. And I wanted to know if maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I have a few mentors in my life that I feel like I'm so thankful for them, right? They were mentors, they were sponsors. They really were honest with me. And I think as I was growing, as I like to say, growing up in the firm. So as I was progressing through Mercadien, a lot of mentors, and especially women mentors, I think were very important to me. I would say it's hard to know where you want to go unless you see somebody up there at the executive level that you resonate with. And I think that was the best thing that my mentors did for me. They showed me that it was possible. And I think they helped me along, and they spoke for me when I wasn't in a room. They encouraged me, and they pointed out things that I could do better. So I think I am really passionate about being a mentor to others. I still have my mentors, right? It never stops. You always need your tribe, as I call them. You always need them around you. And as I'm a first generation immigrant, I am a woman of color. And I think growing up, I was the first person in my family to pursue an MBA, the first person to get to an executive position at a firm. And it's like I didn't quite know early on that I would get here. And it was kind of learning on the fly. And it was saying, maybe I can get there, and hearing other women's stories about how they got there. So I think that it's, without those mentors, without those sponsors, without other people really supporting you and truly being there for you when it wasn't convenient for them sometimes, I think that has made a huge difference in my career. And that's why it's so important for me to give back. And really now it's time to mentor the other people that are coming up behind me.
Yeah. So what I hear too is that being a mentor is obviously so much more than being a cheerleader. Like it's sometimes giving, the feedback that we might not want to hear. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. So, if you've been the recipient of it and now you can give it and really, assist others, in achieving their goals and getting fulfillment at work or whatever is so important. So, thanks for that, for your work. And it's so important for women to support other women. So curious, thinking back and looking at all of this, is there some advice that you would give to your younger self?
Yeah, I always think about this, and we've gone through some exercises here too. And I always come back to, find your tribe, find your people. And it kind of comes back to you need a bunch of people in your tribe, right? You need somebody who's going to be honest with you and give you that feedback that you really need to hear. You need someone who will maybe speak up for you when you are just not able to. You need someone to vent to. You need somebody to be your cheerleader. So, right, so it can be one person playing all these roles, but really it's a lot more than that. So I think finding your tribe is important early on and grow that tribe. But at the same time, advocating for yourself. I think sometimes we wait for others to recognize us, right? Sometimes we just want people to notice what we're doing. So I think one of the most important things that I think I've done for my career that I wish I did earlier on is, boast about yourself, brag about yourself, learn how to do that in a way that is still respectful, that is still humbling, but really like go go out there, because if you don't do it, sometimes people just don't notice. And it's not because they don't want to notice you, it's because you're not saying enough about yourself.
For sure. And not to play into stereotypes, but I do think that sometimes women have a harder time boasting or or it feels like it's boasting or it feels like it's bragging, versus just having the confidence to take up space and speak your truth.
Yes. Yes. I remember, years and years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was laying, I was like, this is what I want for my career. This is where I want to go. These are my goals. And, help me, like, how do I get there? And I remember one of my superiors at the time said, wow, you're so out there. Like you're a little pushy. And I was like, that kind of hurt me a little bit. And then I reflected on that. I was like, you know what? No, I'm not pushy. I'm really just somebody who's a type A personality who wants to get here and just acknowledge my accomplishments, and then let's work on future goals. So it's kind of like, if you think that's pushy, it's sounds like a you problem. We should all be celebrating ourselves and lifting everybody up, but that starts with lifting yourself up.
Well, it's interesting this is getting a little far afield, but as a woman, you're pushy. As a man, you'd be ambitious. So, but we could talk for a long time about that. That's probably more of a panel discussion with all these, so many people that I know who have faced challenges in the workplace. We'll just leave that there. So is there anything that you're looking forward to with Mercadien or maybe one of the nonprofits that you're working with? You have anything coming up?
Yeah, so I think, so we have a number of trade associations and client events that we support in the next few months. We really, I think I mentioned this, Mercadien is really good about it starts with supporting our employees, right? So when we talk about that culture, and I've had some wonderful male mentors too, female mentors, right? They all are there supporting our employees. And then what we do in turn is go out and support the community. So a lot of that's coming up, a lot of community events. We have some charity walks coming up, and we exhibit at a lot of not-for-profit related trade associations. And really just looking forward to, get exposure to new clients. I say RFP season is coming up as clients' year ends happen. So we're just really looking forward to growing and continue to support our community.
It's funny because, we're both long out of school, but there's something that's always really nice about that back to school feeling in September, right? That's kind of the energy that you're talking about. So if people want to get in touch with you, maybe somebody listens and they go, you know what? I think Lovepreet would make a great mentor. I want to reach out to her. How would somebody get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
Sure. So the best place to find me, I would say, is LinkedIn. It's easy. My name is not very common, so my name will do in LinkedIn. So that's probably the best place to find me. I'm pretty active on there and stay up to date.
Excellent. Well, hopefully, maybe you'll get some good connections as a result. So we ask all of the folks on our Think Factory podcasts this one question. I think sometimes it's a little weird to ask, but I'm going to ask, which is, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, so it's one of my favorite mentors, if I can call her. That was her favorite question. So I've thought about this question a lot over the years. I think right now, what keeps me up at night is really thinking about the pace at which our world is changing. So that's within Mercadien, within the accounting industry, and just our world that we're living in. How can we slow it down a little bit, but then still keep up with the innovation, keep up with the technologies, and keep up with all the good that it's bringing? So I think finding that balance can be really difficult sometimes. And, sometimes it's a little scary. A lot of the times it's really exciting. So I think just finding that balance and seeing what the future is going to bring when it comes to just a lot of the innovation going on right now in our world.
Oh, well, that's a good answer. Well, Lovepreet, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. And our listeners can be sure to check out some of the other podcasts from my colleagues. And be sure to check out the other Women's Roundtable and Wellness podcasts so you can learn how people think big and grow their business. I'm Susan Kleiner, and thanks for being here with me today, Lovepreet.
Thank you. It was fun.